Hey everyone, welcome to Unstoppable Summit. And today I have an amazing speaker, and her name is Barbie Layton. And Barbie has her own Best You TV channel. She was international best speaker, going from side to main stage on the Best You Summit in 6 months based on fan feedback and 25 years of speaking engagements. Barbie lived in 3 continents and have traveled the world extensively. And she's currently in Vision Khani's exclusive Mindbelly premium coaching, regular Best You magazine contributor, helping others manifest their dreams with her unique intuitive healing abilities. Her client testimonials are incredible, and she works with CEOs and businesses alike. She uses her degree from the world famous University of Santa Monica and participated in the Cannes Chowchilla, California, a film festival 2007, winning documentary as a counselor for women serving life sentences in Chowchilla, California, on the Prison Project, based on Viktor Frankl's work. She completed over 60 Mindbelly quests to help businesses and individuals to reanimate their dreams, fall in love with themselves, and become the VIPs of their own lives for energy clearing speaking engagements. Her life's goal is to leave the world a better place through kindness and global connection. And you definitely achieve global connection. I've seen you running around, and you are like so many connections now. I don't know, you said over 5,000, you blew your Facebook friends requests and everything like that. You are
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah, it was in 5 days. I had 14,000 people that somehow decided to blow up my Facebook page, and it's from over 100 different countries. So that's just a beautiful sentiment in the sense of where it's like having people that want to know what your message is from all over the world, in the Middle East and Africa and South America and Australia, India, Europe, the United States. I mean, it really is just such an honor. I really love the fact that the message just resonated so much.
Wow, that is amazing. And I'm so glad you're here to share your story and also to take us through, what does it mean to be unstoppable and to be able to supercharge our confidence so we can say yes to all the opportunities that come our way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you want to, I think for me watching you, it's like, you say yes to everything. You are really, just putting your hands up and just like, I might not be prepared for it. I'll just go and just see what comes out of it. And that's a spirit that you have, which is, it's really admirable.
Thank you. And it's like, I mean, it's going on, we've known each other now for over a year, and, I've watched your successes and things like that and vice versa. And I think that, it's like, it's one of those things of where I do say yes to everything that feels right. So I
Yeah.
think that one of the most important parts about being unstoppable is the fact that it's also having that inner discernment of that, where the yes in your body resides and where the no in your body resides. And it's unflinchingly following your inner guidance. And intuition is not spiritual. It's not a religious thing. So it doesn't have to be something that's spiritual. But I know that for me, I'm so in touch and so in tune with what my intuition tells me is the right thing to do or not do, that if it doesn't feel right, I don't do it. If it feels right, I totally go for it. And I completely trust of that. One of the things that I've really learned in the last year is the fact that the most important thing that you have to be unstoppable is to have a united will. So what that means is that, like Esther Hicks talks about having rockets of desire. If you have rockets of desire and you like shoot them out, but then you say, oh no, I don't want that. No, I don't know if that's going to happen. Oh, I'm scared of this, etc. Those rockets are literally going to fall down at your feet. But once you have put that momentum, in numerous interviews that I've done, I've talked about the fact that when you do a black diamond ski route that I did when I was younger, or else you're on a roller coaster. Once you've got the harness on, you've got the seatbelt on, and you're strapped in, and the next thing you know, you're going in. You're completely committed to that. And that's the part about where I think what happens to a lot of people is that they're unstoppable to a point. Sometimes it's about it's not convenient, so I don't feel like it, or I lost my mojo, or I lost my motivation. But as you're putting those things out, you're making the decision to sit on the couch and do nothing is just as much of a decision to do something as it is to do something. So that's the part about where when you've put those things in motion, you have to follow them through to the end. And for some people, they want to pull that back and say, well, I want my free will. It's like, well, I changed my mind where I don't want that. And that's fine. You can change your minds about things anytime that you want, and you can choose different things. But ultimately, if you state to yourself, I wish to be such and such, and you put that goal out, My goal was not to have a global TV channel. That's never been my goal. My goal was to connect people. As you know, that I'm a global connector of amazing people around the world. I wanted to connect people. I wanted to spread a kindness revolution. And as a result, it was a very small idea that maybe I would do 12 interviews a month on a channel and have, that would be the whole entire thing. But what happened is, because I said yes to this dream, to this vision, it started to get bigger than me. And it started to say, well, now I have all these different people that are global friends that are from South Africa, and they're from Haiti, and they're from Australia, and they're from India, and they're from this, Brazil. How can I bring all these people together? So I solicited different people and I said, would you like to come on board to be able to come along with this ride to see how we can create a global community based on a kindness revolution? So it's almost like this theme became this umbrella, and all these people started converging together because we were all going in the same direction. It's not about me and it's not about them. It's about us all rising up together. So a lot of it too is that I think, especially in the United States, we tend to kind of have that like reputation of being the maverick, the lone Marlboro man with his, cigarette and his tough guy, attitude, et cetera, where he doesn't need anybody. But the reality is that we do need people, and we do need to be able to have that worldwide web of people that we can be able to, expand out to. And so therefore, being unstoppable to me is really how you are allowing people to be able to come on board with your dream. Because when it becomes bigger than you and it's not just about you, then people will want to get on board.
Yeah. Wow, that is so amazing. Do you mind if I stop for a moment? I'm just gonna get rid of my Facebook, because at the moment it's going crazy. So sorry about this. You know what? I think that's the big thing, to have a vision that is, so much bigger than ourselves. And it's like, what Dr. Demartini is saying, like, you have the astro vision, and not just like, thinking of ourselves, but thinking of a bigger lines of, on community level, on the national level, on the global level. And the momentum that starts, I mean, it becomes so much greater and bigger than what we are. So is that the biggest thing, is to really expand our vision so that we have something that really draws us. And so we get out of our that kind of like the habitual habit of our own personal, limitations, and really get out of that space. Because I know that that's a big thing. You also help people to get it out of their own way. A lot of people are unable to really see past that because they're getting this hypnotic rhythm.
Well, and that's something too that, just in the last few months, et cetera, it's like I'm part of a group of people internationally that's focusing on core wound training. And one of the things that is very, very important is the fact that if you're running this program all the time, it's like, nobody loves me, nobody loves me, nobody loves me, but you're doing all this law of attraction stuff and you're focusing on all these beautiful things that you want to manifest. The problem is that you're having what's called cross purposes. It's like there's the one side that says, yes, I want this, and you're putting all this energy to be able to do this. But then there's the underlying sabotage saying, well, I really don't want this. I'm not really that interested in that. So it's like the best part about all of this is basically getting yourself in alignment. How do you get congruent with your own image of what you want to do? And a lot of it is stepping into what I call the golden avatar. Some people call it the golden shadow. But the golden avatar is that very, very best vision of yourself ever, that you have never in many ways dared to dream, because people have said, well, who are you? You can't do that. You're nobody. Nobody knows you, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many different excuses as to why you're not supposed to be successful. And in the last year, one of my idols from Mind Valley has been Naveen Jain, who wrote Moonshots. And he's working with the space program, and he's doing Viome, which is helping to eradicate, chronic illnesses forever. I mean, the things that he's doing are so bold and audacious, but his whole entire thing has been a serial entrepreneur. He worked with the Microsoft founders back in the 90s, and he continued on with like business after business after business. And from him, he talked about the fact that it's that power of boldness. He actually has a quest on Mind Valley called the power of boldness. And that boldness is being able to have the nerves to be able to say, you know what? Yes, this man is a billionaire, and yes, he's famous, and yes, this and this and this, but he gave out his contact information, and I'm going to email him. And so I did. I contacted him in August. I said, "Hi, I love what you're doing. You're such an inspiration." And to me, he's as much of a mystic as any person out there. He is just such a phenomenal human being who just is so in alignment with the universe. And he believes that the universe is a benevolent place. And the people that come forward for him are meant to be interacting with him. And that is a beautiful way to look at the world, because it's not from a paranoid perspective. It's not from a negative perspective. It's like, oh, all these people are coming forward to me. Obviously, they're meant to be interacted with. Let's try to see what the connection is and how we can foster that. So he talked about reaching 1 billion people. And I thought to myself, reaching 1 billion people, that's 1 in 7 people in this entire planet. That just sounds so outrageous, but I loved it. There was something about it that was just so like freeing of like, why not? Let's just talk about the fact we're going to reach 1 billion people. And then from there, it's like, I've now gotten the opportunity over, and now I have worked and reached thousands of people. I mean, I don't know if it's coming next to 6 figures yet, but if you think to yourself that if you got into your first 100,000 people that you've reached, and people all over the world are already starting to resonate with your message, why not to get to 250,000? Why not to 500,000? Why not to, 1 million? Why not to 5 million? Why not to 10? It's just, it becomes this exponential thing, but you're completely detached from the outcome. That's the part too.
Yes.
You're not mentally trying to make this happen. Honestly, all of this kind of stuff has been because you are open to whatever is available. It's like, so when you become this magnetic being of where you have done the inner work and you've kind of turned yourself inside out and got rid of all the muck that's on the inside, when you turn yourself magnetic and you allow all these beautiful things to come to you, it's like they literally are beyond your wildest dreams. They're things that you couldn't even imagine yourself, because your small self has all of these ideas that are so limiting. And it says, oh, maybe I'd like this, or maybe I'd like that. I mean, even like, for example, when people go and they look at relationships, it's like, a lot of times as an intuitive coach, I have people who would tell me they have a list and they have boxes that need to be checked and they have to have this and they have to have that, whatever, whatever. And it's like, this isn't, this isn't Build-A-Bear workshop. This isn't where you get to go,
Build a
you know,
husband.
yeah, it's not like that. And that's the part about, because you attract the human being and their essence and their good qualities and their bad qualities. But in a sense, if you always want the very best for that human being, and that person always wants the best for you, and they love you, with this beautiful love, and vice versa, but maybe they don't have the kind of money that you wanted, or maybe they don't look a particular way that you wanted, et cetera. It's like, I think people get very caught up in the package. It's like the package is very, very important. And that's why people talk about the fact that some people look good on paper. Oh, well, that person looks good on paper, but in person, they're like a complete mess. So that's the part too, in the sense of where it's allowing that whatever comes forward for you, it's kind of like making waffles. Whenever you make a waffle in the waffle iron, that first waffle is always all jacked up and it's weird shaped and it came out weird, etc. But for some reason, after you toss out that first waffle, waffle number 2 comes out perfect. Number 3, number 4, number 5. It's really one of those things of where you have to be willing to make that first waffle that isn't going to be perfect. But then from there, you have a prototype of where your body can then, and your mind and your spirit can step in and going like, well, that's already familiar. I already manifested the screwed up waffle. So now I'm going to manifest the good waffle, and then more of those. And then, yes, please. And then can I have some more?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love what you're saying. Like, it's attracting that person's sense, right? And that's like, that's so powerful. That word sense. I like that word sense. It's just really beautiful. And you mentioned also that, there is, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like having that cells of recognition is what they mentioned in the master key, like having that cell of recognition when sometimes you first don't recognize something. It's just beyond your what you've experienced or anything before. But, when you start doing something, it's not going to be perfect, but at least there's some sort of like, basis or some sort of blueprint in which you can recognize. And that's how you can actually build on it and go from there. Because everything that we've experienced in this world, it's like, we had to learn it slowly. And that's the thing, we always think that we have to get it right the first time. We need to know this. And sometimes we get embarrassed because we're feeling we're so much older now. We should know all these things. But that's not the case. It's okay.
No, and exactly. And because there are 7 billion people in the world, it's like this kind of idea. It's like if you're in a small town where you're not accepted, you're not looked at as well, et cetera, The option is that we have the ability now to go mobile. We can go
Mhm.
someplace else. You can move somewhere else and say, you know what, I don't really go want to be at this place any longer. But the issue then is the fact that if you have patterns within yourself, I like to say wherever you go, there you go. So if you have those issues within yourself, and then you go to a new town thinking you're going to escape your problems and go to a new place where you're not going to have any, if those patterns are still within you, you will then replicate them in that new place. But if those patterns are not about you will not replicate that in the new place. And then you will realize that it wasn't you all along. And then you have the freedom to be able to enjoy yourself and do what you want to do. So sometimes that's a gamble for some people. And a lot of people don't really want to step out of their comfort zone. Unstoppable to me is also, it's very much synonymous with fearlessness, because you look at children and it's like, for the most part, children have this fearlessness. And I remember, like, I was giggling because if you look at the Superman costume for children, there actually is a sign that's a warning on it that says, caution, this suit does not allow you to fly. And it's on the costume because of the fact that there are so many little kids that decided, like, hey, I'm putting on this suit and I can fly. And unfortunately, if a few of them got hurt. But that's the part about being a child, where you think to yourself, ooh, I've got this super amazing, awesome, opportunity. And from that perspective, here is, a costume I'm going to put on and it's going to give me these abilities. But ultimately, the abilities that we have, they don't need something from external from us. It's something where we can kind of bring that within. So you have these children that use their imagination all the time. And a lot of adults have kind of gotten out of the habit of that. It's like, oh, that's just play. Oh, that's just like in a movie. Oh, that's not real life, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that part is like suspending that disbelief and then stepping back into that childlike wonder. I know you have a little boy, and I'm sure, like, when you see the way that he sees things, it's so refreshing and it's so sweet. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's such a beautiful thing of where, like, children for the first time, when they see, oh, a seashell, it's like, ooh, what's this? And oh, what's that? When you step into that space again of where it's like things are fresh again and you're wanting to look with brand new eyes, that's one of the most important things to kind of like flip a lot of different situations. Because I think as adults we kind of look at, oh, same old, been there, done that. Oh yeah, I've done all this kind of stuff. But then ultimately, no, that's not true. Just because you had, a steak a week ago, the next steak that you have the next time, you might have a different seasoning on it, or you might cook it a different way, etc. Yes, it's steak, but there are so many varieties and different ways that you can do that. But a lot of people get like stuck on, nope, I broil my steak, I put salt and pepper on it, and that's just the way that I serve it. Whereas other people are like, are you kidding me? You can flambe it with you can soak it in tequila and like flambe it, or you can put it on the barbecue, or you can put barbecue sauce on it, or you can, chop it up and put it in a salad. It's like there's so many different things that we can do with a lot of the raw materials that we have, but we get very set in our ways that no, it has to be this particular way. And that's just kind of opening our minds. And with, I think what's happened with the pandemic is that a lot of people keep wanting to go back to 2019. They want 2019 the way that it used to be, and thinking that everything's going to be that same way. And I know I've heard that in Australia, you guys are on like your fifth lockdown, and there's just a lot of different things that are happening. And, in the United States, we have our own issues as well. But I think that finding kind of a happy medium of where we can all kind of like live with whatever this new normal is, and just being in acceptance of that, helps to all of us to be able to step into a better space on that, because those are things that are outside of our control and there's nothing you can do about that. And so for me, I really try to not expend energy on things that I can't control, or out of my scope of influence, because that to me is almost like those distractions are intentionally there to siphon off your positive energy. So your job, in my opinion, is to become sourced from your own energetic alignment. And the more source that you are in your energetic alignment, and the more high that your frequency is and your energy is, the more you're going to attract people that are also vibrating at that same vibrational frequency, but you're not allowing yourself to constantly be taken down. And and honestly, a lot of that is just from turning off the news notifications on your phone, on your devices, on your computers. You're not looking at all the news articles on a, hourly basis, because ultimately that cortisol and the adrenaline and everything else that does, it just it just contracts people to the point of where they're in fear and anxiety, and you're secreting cortisol stress hormones. That is not a positive way to live. That's a very, very high stress energy. And it doesn't mean you pretend like it's not happening. You do have to always, take precautions and be in awareness of what's happening around your situation, but not dwelling on it. I think that's where people get into this, fear is a really, really good way to have people get controlled.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because like, we have all these, unnecessary distractions. And then what happens is that we get into this fight flight mode and get into the back to survival, and it contracts us back just, in the mind, and not being able to
Yes.
really, connect back with where we need to be, which is, presence, and in, alignment with the intuitive, messages that we get through universe. And so
Mhm.
that is so true. And, I don't watch the TV or anything like that. If anything is really important, somebody else is going to tell me, I know. I just leave it to them. Mom's going to call me up and just say, hey, did you know this and that?
Yeah.
So that is so true. And that's a really big message for everybody at this point in time, to be able to have your energy all in place. So yeah, you focus on the right things, and you don't have those energy leaks, as you're saying, going everywhere and diluting,
Mhm.
your willpower and your focus.
Well, and I think too, in the sense of where it's like, over time, even though it's something that we kind of think is like counterintuitive, but ultimately other people and other things are not responsible for our happiness. So that's the part too. It's like if you're sourced up from your own self, and this again, comes from Esther Hicks. She talks about the fact that, when we have attachments to other people, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We need people in our lives. We're very social beings. And I always say that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and you don't know necessarily what it is until, you've had whatever you've had in regards to experience with that person. But it's still allowing those people to kind of reveal themselves to you in the sense of where you engage and you interact with them, but you're always connected to your own source. So whatever religion you belong to, you connect yourself to your religious beliefs. Whatever your intuition is, if you're agnostic or atheist, you connect into your intuition of where what yes feels like in your body and what no feels like in your body. You're very clear as to the difference between those. And if you're sourced that way, and then you also hang out with other people who are also sourced within themselves, you can all walk around in this beautiful like harmony of where everybody is whole and activated in their own power. And when you're around people who are whole and activated in their own power, there is literally not anything that group of people cannot accomplish together, because it is the most intoxicating, amazing thing to be around people who are like that. And this last year being in, Vishen Lakhiani's premium coaching at Mindvalley, and then I'm also in Ken Honda's new family arigato private community, which has been phenomenal to have him. I mean, he's just such a delight. And having been able to interview Naveen and interview Ken and interview different thought leaders around the world, it's been such an amazing thing, because I'm finding this common thread, and the common thread with the people who I really admire and who are really talking about what I think, and they're manifesting millions, if not billions of dollars, is they talk about gratitude. They talk about kindness. Like Ken Honda's talking about, make sure you tip really well, have a gift for people and things like that. So in the last year with the happy money concept, every time I had a delivery during COVID and somebody was delivering groceries or whatever they're delivering to me, I had a little box of chocolates, and there were little chocolates that I set out, and I just held a little box of chocolates and I just added arigato, and I thanked whoever was coming to my door. And every time I could tell these people were really hot, they were sweaty, they were working really hard, I would always just say, out of my abundance, I want to gift you, this candy. And they'd always be really touched by that. And they would say, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you don't know if that person's having a hard day. You have no idea what just happened to them. And they might have been yelled at all day long, or had a lot of problems. They had family problems, but that one little act of kindness might have been able to get them through the rest of the day, etc. So those are the kind of things to me of where it's like, Ken Honda, Naveen Jain, Angela Wright, she's a CEO in Australia. Almost everybody that I spoke to about this kind of stuff has talked about the fact that yes, the universe is a benevolent place, but you have to have a confirmation bias, and that you're out there looking for what's good in the world as opposed to what's bad. Because there's so much of the media and other places out there who will tell you this is a horrible place. Everything is like hair on fire, scorched earth. We're all going to die. And from that perspective, it's very difficult for our bodies to calm down, because it's that amygdala in the back of the brain that thinks that, oh my God, there's a saber-toothed tiger, and it doesn't know the difference between now and when, back in the day. And so, I mean, people do tapping exercises for exactly that, to like reset themselves. But if you literally surround yourself with other people that believe that the universe is benevolent, and then it is about gratitude and kindness and paying it forward and helping other people, the group that I'm in with Ken Honda, there's only a fee of $8.88 a month, because that's a fortuitous, very, auspicious, beautiful
Really?
number.
I
Yeah.
want to get into that too.
Yeah. It's something of where he only charges that because the whole purpose of it is not to make money. The whole purpose is that he wants to have the opportunity to be able to take all of that money that's part of the membership, and we're just going to donate it to different people. We're going to find worthy causes around the world to be able to donate that to. And he said that his Japanese groups that he already has, he has thousands of people. He said they're literally swimming with money and they're constantly figuring out ways to donate money to families that are in need, or organizations that need help, et cetera, et cetera. And 20 years ago, he said he wanted to be a world leader, and he didn't know that that was actually going to happen. But he's now literally stepping into a space of where within the next year, he feels that he'll probably have 100,000 people that are all working in the happy money concept. So that's something to me. It's like, that is so inspirational because he's somebody who makes so much money. He doesn't care. He doesn't need to work another day in his life, but he's out there every day wanting to make this happen for people because he knows that there's a need. And so as this beautiful kind of like, leader of this like movement, you have all these people together doing the arigato movement, where everybody's doing arigato in, arigato out, blessing their money, allowing their money to work for them. But it's a happiness to that because everybody's committed to the same ideal of like, how can I give to you? How can I give from my abundance? How can I take care of my fellow people in the community? So those are the kind of things too, is like, it's really, really surrounding yourself with people who are dreamers, not people who are going to be dream busters or tell you that what you can and cannot do, because everybody has, 2 or 3 people in their families or people in their environments to say, you can't do that. Oh yeah, good luck with that, or whatever. And it's like, you got to do what you got to do, and, ignore the haters. You just have to do what you got to do and go do your best thing. Know that not everyone's going to like you, and that's perfectly fine. But in the meantime, for the people that you are being assistance to and the people that you are helping, it's very, very clear that those people are completely in gratitude, because the reciprocity happens where it becomes this beautiful circle of giving. And I mean, I think Ken Honda at one point in time in one of our calls a couple of weeks ago, he said he would love to start gift wars. So it's like a gift war of yeah, I gave you 5 gifts, and then back and forth, and be like, oh yeah, I gave you 6. And, it's just back and forth where it's like just this kind of like, it's this funny way of being. But it's like, I never thought about a gift war before. I just thought that was amazing. But the fact that Ken is there personally in this group, talking to a group of, 60 people, I mean, what an honor and what a privilege to be able to have, him in that space. And he is just absolutely a delight. So these are the kind of things too, where it's like attracting all these beautiful people that want to assist you, because the more people that find out that you're the same frequency that they are, and that you're doing the same kind of thing, and your mission and your purpose on the planet is to help people and be of service, they're like, oh, well, how can I be of service with you? Well, how can I get involved? And then you want to get involved with what they're doing. And then we all uplift each other together. And it's like, then I'm not unstoppable by myself. I'm unstoppable with a whole tribe of people that are all doing amazing work around the world.
Yeah. And the synergy is amazing.
Yes.
I love that. It's kind of like, for me, it's like thinking like, why don't we plant seeds of joy all over the world? This really starts with ourselves,
Yeah.
and then going up the ladder.
Yes.
But it's so powerful what you're saying. And I feel a lot of fun. Like, there's fun, there's joy. And those are the things that I think they're completely contagious. So
Yes.
contagious.
Yes. And that's the part about it where it's like, again, it's the same thing. I mean, just today, my partner and I, we were doing filming, and, it was like 3.5 hours of, most of it's like, getting down to business to do the filming. But then the other part is just laughing and just enjoying yourself, because it's the opportunity to not take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
And, when you're filming, you're just like, oh, do I need to get serious? It's like, no, you need to laugh and enjoy yourself, because again, I know another thing that Ken Honda states, and I agree with this 100% too, is that your energy that comes off from the screen, whether you're on Facebook, whether or not you're on a webinar, whatever, a TV show, people vibe off of your energy. So they are attracted to that. And I think I've told you that, a few times, that right now there's so much content out there, and people have literally their choice of whatever they want to watch or whatever they want to listen to. But it's like, why is there a reason that they want to listen to you? And your vibe is what they want to listen to. It's like, if you're all excited and you're like, oh my God, and I'm doing this, and they're doing this, and this happened, this happened, this happened. It's like, people, they pick up on that and they get excited. But if you have somebody that's just kind of monotone on a podcast of blah, 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 blah. And then the other thing too is that I think it's also really important to keep things fresh, because for me in my career, I always want to be somebody that's well acclaimed for the fact that I keep it fresh. I don't want to ever be where it's stale. There are unfortunately certain people, probably in the last 30 years ago, the formula was the fact that you had a set, and your set meant that you literally would talk about the same thing that happened to you over and over again. It might have been like, I had this horrible experience and then I ended up on Oprah in 1984. I did this, I did that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have no, there's no shame in that game either. But what I don't like about that is the fact that now in the world of podcasts and YouTube, where you can pull up videos, if I know that I've heard you twice and both times it was the same story, I don't need to go listen to you any longer. And maybe in the live arenas and the live events that we had prior to COVID, maybe that was a really, really good way to make a living. But to me, I think it's important in the sense of where I want it to be like, ooh, what's Barbie going to talk about this time? And oh, what's she going to wear this time? And oh, what's the next thing that she's learning about? Because I think as you're continuously learning new things and you're bringing your audience into the fact that, hey, I'm learning this, and do you want to learn about this? And hey, I'm learning about this, and let's find out about this. It becomes this almost like you have like a virtual buddy in TV, or as a speaker, who's kind of doing this world of like vicariously exploring different things that you maybe didn't want to actually explore yourself, but then it maybe take you down a different path, and you might say, this core wounding stuff sounds really interesting to me. I would really like to know a lot more about it. And then after that, the next thing you know, the person becomes a facilitator, and then they have a brand new career focusing on this, and they're being of service to the planet. So it's that kind of like exploration part of it that I want to be really clear about too, that I never want to make it where it becomes stale and I'm just repeating myself over and over again and people know exactly what I'm going to say, because it's not that you're trying to create a mystery. It's just the fact that there's an evolution of the soul that continues to happen on a day-to-day basis when you're open-minded and you want to, expand your consciousness. And so for me, it's like, I always want to be somebody that's growing no matter what. I never want to be stagnant or stale. And so I want my body of work to be able to also show that. So that also means that there's an unstoppable capability of that too, because you're not staying and saying like, well, I accomplished this, so I'm done. It's like, there's always going to be a next step and a next thing. And it's not compulsive and it's not from an addictive perspective. It's just the fact that this new opportunity has come up. There's a retreat in India that would really love to have your services, to be able to do clearings and things like that. Are you interested? Absolutely. Or there's something, in Bahrain where they would really like for you to bring in, the kindness revolution and talk to a panel of people. Are you interested? Absolutely. So it's like, it's really just opening yourself up to that. And I think a lot of Americans, especially, are kind of limited into the Western world per se, and they're not always interested in kind of like expanding. But I think my travels and, having, being multilingual and having, experienced the world all over, there's a curiosity to me as well, because I want to know people as individuals. I don't want to know what I've been told about different cultures based on the news, because that is just a, a stereotype or a two-dimensional like generalization. And when you get to know the heart of a human being, you don't feel that same way about them when you see it on the news. You say, nope, those are human beings that are suffering, and they deserve just as much compassion as everybody else.
I'm kind of like hearing that, it's really about just giving ourselves that full permission to play and just be who we are. And now with with the COVID and everything, people are really craving that human interaction, that real human connection. I want to know that whether or not you're real, right? I want to see more deep below what you're saying. Is like, I don't want to hear that story, but I want to know, what else is there? Are you really real? And I think a lot of the, the movie stars and celebrities are coming out, and they're kind of showing people their life and their world. People, going in, not just what they see in the celebrity world, but beyond that, just doing the everyday stuff, right? And that's what we're craving. It's changing everything.
Well, and that's something that I've found that's been really interesting too, is like a lot of the people who I feel like, a lot of the influencers and people have become very, very popular about different things. There's kind of this non-celebrity push in the sense of where people are really interested in finding new people as opposed to the package and the, the script. Because even if you look at a lot of people on, I remember I watched the Real Housewives of Melbourne because I thought it was very interesting to see, kind of like, are they that different from Australia? And they were as catty and rude to each other as the ones in the United States, which was pretty funny. I was like, well, I guess, catty and rich just kind of goes along with the course, internationally. But what you see is the fact that what ended up happening, and I know you and I have talked a lot about, I know you have people that have done like fashion therapy and things like that. And that's something that I'm really, a big proponent of and a fan of as well. But what you see is a lot of times what happens is a lot of these women or different people will come on TV or other places as themselves. And they'll have a certain look and a certain presence. But then what happens is I think within the first year, they hear on social media, you're fat, you have horrible teeth, you need to get your nose fixed, your hair is terrible, that's a terrible outfit you're wearing, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, they open themselves up to this beautiful space internationally, but then the world kind of starts giving them all this feedback from the peanut gallery that they didn't ask for. So you have some of these women that I've seen over the last 10 years or so, they get their noses chiseled, they get their teeth veneers done, they get extensions in their hair, they have, like Botox, they get implants, they get all sorts of different things. And, if that was organically what they wanted to do, that's fine. But what I think happens a lot of times for people is that there's this script of telling them that to be acceptable, you need to continue changing yourself. And I think that I saw a really amazing interview with Sia, the world famous Grammy Award winning singer that's actually in Australia right now. And she said she had to go on a complete social media detox because she had a backlash from a movie that she had done. And it was so painful for her because she had wanted to be of service, and the way that she was received wasn't the way that she wanted to be received. And it totally just, threw her world in this total, tumultuous place. And she was so raw and so beautiful. And this was an interview she did with Dr. Gabor Mate, who talks about, he did a movie called The Wisdom of Trauma, and he's a trauma specialist and an amazing human being. And I'm attempting to interview him for 2022 because he's an amazing man. But when he was interviewing her, he was saying, how can you be so bold and how can you be so open on this interview? And she said, because I'm never ever going to see any kind of feedback as to what anybody thought about my opinion on this show. I'm never going to go check out and find out what your opinion was, if you liked it, if you thought I looked pretty, if you thought I was fat, if you thought I was this, if you thought. She's like, I don't care. I want to be authentically in the moment of where I'm having this conversation with you, but I don't need to hear all these different people that are giving me their opinion as to what they thought about it. And that was like really revolutionary. I thought to myself, wow, like this is a woman who's like an internationally acclaimed woman. I mean, she's so talented, but she was so real at the same time. And so to me, as you were saying, the human connection, I appreciated her authenticity and her rawness in that moment, because it just really, really showed that you don't have to have this facade. And the reason why I'm mentioning all this is the fact that I think that, as you were saying with celebrities, for celebrities, a lot of it's about the packaging. It's about the image. You get the stylist, and you get the hair and makeup people, and you get your glam squad, and you get all these different people that are, all focused on making sure that you look good. You get your cellulite sucked and your Botox done. And, it's like, I think they said that Kim Kardashian, it costs her like over $150,000 a year for uptake, or, upkeep,
maintenance,
just procedures and nails and facials, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, for her, she's in the public eye. So for her, she feels like that's justified, but it's still, the more people start to tweak their appearances to be able to fit some sort of a construct, that's not unstoppable. To me, that becomes a prison of this conformity and feeling like you have to be a particular way. And so it's like, in this last year or so, as everything's kind of gone on, I've had to be my own stylist. I've done my own hair and makeup. I've done my own lights. I've done my own camera. I've done all that other kind of stuff because there hasn't been anybody else to be able to help me with it. But there's also been a liberation and a freedom from that, because I'm not answering to other people telling me how I'm supposed to be. So when I coach people, I tell them, your opinion about yourself is honestly the most important opinion that you have. And I don't mean a fake one. I don't mean an arrogant one. I mean, an honest look at yourself. If you take a really, really honest look at yourself of who you are, and you end up liking yourself, if that's your authentic you, do you. Like literally be the very best version of you authentically that you possibly can. Because to me, it is one of the biggest gifts that you can give to the world, because the more people like open up themselves to being able to be real, and it's not this whole, facade thing, the better. Sorry about that. Sorry, I'll have to cut that out.
That's all right.
But yeah, it's like, it's stepping into that, what is authentically you. And, that's why I love to try on different fashion. I mean, I'll try on something and I say, nope, not for me. trying something else. Yep, I like it. So it has to be something of where if it doesn't resonate for you, then it's not right for you.
Wow, that is so powerful. So being unstoppable it's also having, cutting off a lot of the outside fears of criticism and judgment, and also starting within ourselves to accept ourselves at the same time. Self-compassion. I think self-compassion is one of the biggest things that I realized that you know was like in the way of really just expressing myself, you know, and being able to love others as well. Not being critical with yourself, and then you stop being critical of others.
I think absolutely, because when you're not critical of yourself, you also give other people permission to be themselves. I mean, that's the most beautiful thing, in the sense of where by stretching into who you are, then you give people also the permission. That's what I was talking about, being around people who are activated in their full power. When you're
Mm.
around people who are activated in their full power, those people generally have been beautifully broken open. Their hearts have been beautifully broken open by whatever experiences that they've had. But I tend not to look at people as having a victim story. It's not the wounded healer necessarily, but it's the hero's journey. It's
Mm.
that hero's journey, in the sense of where most people I know who are in personal growth or self-development, it's because of something that's happened early in their lives that they had to go find answers to. The average person who everything's okay, everything's great, everything's fine, they're not really out there seeking for things because they don't need to. But the person that really had something negative that adversely affected them, you then go seek for answers. And that's the part about where, for me, having had some very negative experiences as a child from school type of experiences, the reality is the fact that now my super strength in many ways is my intelligence. So therefore it's like I don't have to dumb myself down to be able to make it palatable for other people where, I'm too smart or I'm too this, because it's not a competition. That's the other part too, is that if you only compete with yourself to be the best version of yourself every day, that's the only competition you need to be in. Because that's that part about where, and I know with law of attraction, they talk about a lot about the abundance mindset. That abundance mindset can shift everything for you. Because if you don't feel that there's only two pieces of pie left, you're not going to start salivating and trying to figure out how you're going to trip your opponent or figure out how to sabotage them, because you ultimately know there will be a piece of pie for you at the end of whatever your quest or your arrangement that you need to be. But maybe you get your pie in a year as opposed to getting it right now. So that's the part about where it's like kind of being in a competition for your own personal best is a lot more important than focusing on what other people have. Because it's so funny. You've got women who have curly hair and they go, oh my God, I want straight hair. You have women who have straight hair and you're like, oh my God, I wish I had curls. Or you have people, it's like, it's just the funniest thing, in the sense of where we look at other people and go, wow, those curls are gorgeous. And they're like, oh, I wish I had straight hair. And you just kind of have to laugh, because instead, I wish we spent as much time prizing ourselves and appreciating who we actually are and what we bring to the table, rather than constantly like looking around the table wishing that we had something that we didn't. Because that is literally an exercise in futility, and it is such a waste of mental capacity. And that's, again, it's like that stepping into that flow state, to me, is being in the highest vibration available, but not allowing these low level silly things to kind of like distract you just because they feel like they can. And everybody has an inner critic. I mean, I still do too, where sometimes it'll get louder than other times. Most of the time now I've been able to kind of keep it, where it's like at a lower volume, thank God. But that inner critic is something that you have to integrate and pull it within you to be able to be part of it, as opposed to, a lot of people want to kill it off, or when they do shadow work, they talk about shadow removal. The
Mhm.
reality is you can't remove your shadow. You need to integrate it. You need to find a way for it to work for you. And so that's, again, it's that congruency of finding that alignment of like, how can I take all these parts that are part of me and be able to make this like the best package possible. But it's not necessarily to please other people, but to show up in your fullness and your authenticity, and then allow these opportunities to be able to present themselves. That to me is the most exciting part.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I really appreciate your time. It's so powerful, like to be able to, go on this journey. It feels like, this mental adventure that I've been on just talking to you about all the different things that you experience, and, all the stories and everything like that. It's very vivid and as colorful as you are. So Thank you very much for your time. So you, if people want to reach out to you, you have a website, which is called youareamazingtv.com.
Correct. And that actually has, I have 18 programs right now currently, from over 15 countries on my Best You TV platform. And right now I have 12 to 15 that are in production. We have people from South Africa, Haiti, Brazil, India. We have people from all over the world. It's such a beautiful global community that's come together. Very warm, conscious entrepreneurs who want to make changes in the world. And we have what we call the hashtag kindness revolution. So we're trying to promote the kindness revolution and bring universal values back, because universal values of honesty, loyalty, integrity, they have nothing to do with religion, they have nothing to do with culture, they're just human characteristics. And that's really what I'm trying to be an advocate for, is that we bring back the human characteristics that a lot of times we've kind of lost in a lot of the kind of casual disposable culture that a lot of people live in now. And so a lot of the programming that I have right now, 12 to 15 that are in process and in production, those are coming up in the next few months. And then I'll be back in September doing interviews again that I've already started booking. So I'm really, really excited for a lot of the guests that are coming up. And it's just such an honor to be able to sit there. I mean, to talk to Naveen Jain, if you get a chance to watch the interview with him, it's like, it is so riveting. Everybody's feedback that I've gotten from them, they're like, wow, that was one of the most fascinating interviews I've ever seen in my life. But it's still, to me, what I really appreciate is the humility of the people that are coming on, because they're not feeling in any way, shape, or form that the venue is too small, too big. It's literally, it's like, it's just right for them. And so when they show up, Ken Honda spent almost an hour and a half with my panel and answering Q&A questions just so patiently. And he prizes every person and he tells them how wonderful they are and what good people that he sees them as being. And it just warms your heart, because again, it totally comes from the heart. And I think if the more heart-centered that we live in this society around the world, the more heart-centered, the more magic that we can create around the planet. And I've appreciated getting to know you as a friend, Melody, and continuing around that too. And eventually, we'll get to see each other in person sometime, but it's still just, having this opportunity of where, I mean, you've seen a lot of the things I've done. That's been quite a rise in a very like kind of unconventional way. But a lot of it is to the fact that if you listen to the global launch, it's at the front of the website. Bernardo Moya, who's the CEO of the Best You TV, he actually says this woman is unstoppable, because I literally, within 6 weeks, I had 18 programs. I had interviews done. They were all in the can. I had the credits. I was able to get world-class branding, and poof, bing, bang, boom. There it is. And it's ready to go to be able to inspire people. And my goal is that when people walk away from the You Are Amazing TV, that they just feel like their heart has been opened, because they have a chance maybe to go and do something locally and then act globally. And it just becomes this beautiful community where we all kind of like share together. And then at some point in time, we can meet in person and, discuss our projects and how we can continue to support each other.
Wow. Revolutionary.
Exactly. And from a positive way. And the thing that my motto always is that it needs to be abundance for all. It needs to be win-win for everybody and abundance for all. I don't ever want it to be where anybody, is kind of like, there's no hierarchy. It's like, it's the You Are Amazing TV channel, and I happen to be the face of it, but bottom line is that I'm just one face of many. And that's the most beautiful part, because it's this gorgeous community that is revolutionary. We're all teaming together and we're rising up together. And that is to me one of the most beautiful things. And it brings hope. That's the most important thing. In the 21st century, we need hope that this planet is going to continue thriving and that people are going to do the right thing. And I think from that, You Are Amazing TV is one of those things of where it's like, I don't see that there's programming like that anywhere else, because everybody on there is so positive. And I mean, we have lawyers talking about conscious contracts and how to do right by your clients. I mean, like literally things of where
even
you
lawyers
would just never. Exactly. It's just such a beautiful thing, because these attorneys have said you don't have to make it cutthroat and negative. It's like, how can you find a way to be able to make partnerships with your legal team? And I thought to myself, oh my God, that's revolutionary. So these are the kind of things of where this kind of consciousness and kindness can come through every single part of your life, including your business.
Wow. I'm going to follow up and see what you're doing. Thank you so much for your time,
Awesome.
Barbie.
Thank you, Melody.
You are amazing. I'm so
You
glad
too.
you're here speaking about this topic. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.